Hey, I'm Randy, and this is RPG. So this is my camera setup for shooting videos. It's a Nikon D7000 DSLR with a 18 to 105 millimeter zoom lens on it. I've got the Takstar SGC598 shotgun mic, which is actually a really good shotgun mic for what it is, pretty cheap. And then for actually framing shots, I've got my wife's old Samsung Galaxy S2 tablet. And I've got that all hooked into the camera, and it uses some software to basically turn it into a monitor so I can see what I'm doing. And all that is mounted on a very sturdy tripod that I picked up in Japan for about $10 American at what essentially is a thrift store. So it's not the ideal setup for a small shop. The tripod has a very wide footprint, and it's just like every tripod. You've got these fiddly little leg clamps if you want to get it down to a lower shot or whatever. So I went out on a limb, did some research, and I came up with a new system, and I'll just start up at the top. That is the rail piece for my new camera gantry. So let me not knock over my camera. Let's see if you can see this. Let me zoom in. So if you can see that, I can't see it on this little bitty screen right now. It is simply 3 pieces of plywood. One is screwed into the ceiling, and the 2 other ones are cut at a 45-degree angle to make a large dovetail. And that goes down the entire length of an 8-foot piece of plywood. So that's what it rides on. And it gets most everything in my shop. I've got my bandsaw over there, table saw of course in the middle, jigsaw over here, come around this way, and I got my chop saw station behind this camera. Doesn't quite reach that yet, so I may build another smaller bit to go on the ceiling to extend it. I don't know, I haven't quite decided on that one yet. But here's the rest of the stuff. So this is, in the middle here, the piece that mounts into the dovetail. And I made all this out of scrap stuff. I didn't go buy anything for this project at all. It's a 2x3, which I just happen to have. Some scrap pieces of plywood up there. There's a hole drilled in one. This 2x3 is mounted to a circle which is screwed to the top of it. That rides in, let me get up a little bit closer. So there's this piece with the hole drilled in it. This piece, you'll see it's got a little cut right there, is the receiving portion that the circle that this is mounted to goes on. And then this piece just mounts everything together and holds the dovetail. You can see how the dovetail bit works. And then after I got it all put together, I put some paste wax on all those surfaces, and more importantly inside of that dovetail, so that it slides nice and easily. And if I just hang it over the edge here, you see it rotates. It doesn't rotate very freely, but that's kind of by design. I want it to have a little bit of friction so that it doesn't just spin out of control. Don't want it spinning like a CD. To that is mounted this piece. It's another scrap piece of 2x3. This is a rail made out of a 2x4, and I chopped it off on one end, cut it down to 1 inch, and the leftover pieces I glued into place on both ends. And I did that the same on this other piece, and then chopped the ends off at a 45. I'll drill the hole through here for this handle to go into, and then the other end has this little block that I made. It's got a T-nut on one end, 2 pieces of scrap that are glued to the ends, and that rides along here. This part doesn't actually move. It's on the other side of this. So essentially this whole rail system slides underneath it. But this slides freely all the way down. And of course when this is locked into it, with this going through it, then you can adjust it. And I'll show you that a little bit later. Here's the other handle for these two pieces. These actually go into this hole here. Yeah, I was mistaken. This piece rides in through here. So these two pieces get mounted onto here, and they also have T-nuts in them, one on each end, and it gets tightened on this thread here. So then you come to this part, which is another handle. I just made these. This is an old piece of closet hanging bar stuff, you know, what you put your clothes on. A piece of 3/8" threaded rod. I drilled a hole through it and put some epoxy in there to hold it in place. And then the piece that the camera actually mounts to is this. It's just again scrap 3/4" plywood. Put an extra piece on the bottom there to thicken that up for the hole to go through, and then I mounted another cut off piece of that closet stuff to act as a handle so I can move it around, and then this little eye bolt goes through, and that just happens to be the same as what my camera mount uses. So to screw that in place, that little rubber washer right there provides a little friction between the camera and the this mounting plate, but it also captures that eye bolt so it doesn't fall out. I may wind up putting on like a ball head or something onto that, but I haven't decided yet. I don't want that to get too fiddly or flimsy and perhaps, you know, fall over and try to torque everything and just get all weird. So anyway, there's all the parts. I am going to set this camera up onto, actually I'm going to switch cameras and go back to my main rig and put this together and then mount it and show you how it works. Okay, so this is how it all goes together. Here's the rail, or the piece that mounts into the rail, and it just slides right in. Now it's just hanging there on those in that dovetail. And like I said, slides pretty easily. Paste wax helps quite a bit. And the next piece to go on is this rail, and it simply has this bar. You put it around like this, and you take the screw or the handle, thread it through both pieces like that, and then this bit goes on the other side, and the whole mess screws together like this, and there you go. I can really put some good torque on this, and voila. Alright, the next piece is the two rails that go through this hole. Now, one thing I did do is, I don't know if you can see that, is I put some sandpaper on the end of all these pieces, actually, right there, and I've also got it up here as well on this piece, and that really adds some strength. Okay, so gets mounted exactly the same way. This piece goes here, goes through the hole, and gets threaded onto the other side. And I'm just going to let those hang for a second because I've got one more piece to put on, and that is going to be the actual camera mount. And it goes on exactly the same way. Goes through the hole and into the T-nut on the other side. just like that. Now that spins right there, swings freely because I haven't tightened this down yet. So I can kind of position it here, tighten that down, put this somewhat level, tighten it down, and that's not going anywhere. Yeah, it wobbles, but what do you expect? It's hanging from a piece on the ceiling. But that's okay, because once it steadies up, then it won't wobble anymore. That's it. Let me put the camera on it and I'll show you what I mean. Alright, there it is. There's the camera mounted onto the gantry, and it is simply hanging from the ceiling mount. I'm getting a little bit closer, and you can see there's my preview piece there. It's a good shot of my hearing protection. Techstar mic, Nikon D7000, all mounted on this, and look, it's not being supported in any way other than these 3 locking handles and just hanging from the ceiling. It's hard. It's a little bit hard to move with one hand and holding the camera, but you saw how it moved earlier. So there it is. It's my new rig. Yeah, see, it's a little wobbly right now because I just moved it. But when it calms down, it's pretty solid. But this is going to actually work out real well. It's pretty minimalistic. And then when I need to recharge, like the tablet, I think I said it was a S2 tablet. It's not. It's a Tab 2. I misspoke earlier. But whatever. It doesn't matter. It works as a monitor. So there we go. New setup. So there you go, guys. This is my new camera gantry. I hope you liked it. If you enjoyed this video, please hammer that thumbs up button down there and go ahead and subscribe. If you haven't done so already, hit that little bell icon down there and that'll notify you whenever I upload new videos. I really am interested to hear any comments or concerns that you may have, anything I could do to improve upon this design or make it better in any way. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time.